This is All India Radio, Power of Listening. Under this series, tonight we take you on a journey to the world of yet another magnificent facet of the traditional Indian knowledge systems. In today's episode, we shall be focusing on the ancient Indian shipbuilding knowledge system and also about the pioneer Indian master boat builders and mariners. The expert is Professor Vasant Shinde, international archaeologist. Talking to him is Dr. Prasad Prakash Joshi, Indologist and Sanskrit scholar. Stay tuned.
Good evening. Today we feel highly pleased and privileged to welcome Professor Vasant Shinde in this program. Professor Vasant Shinde is an eminent archaeologist and has devoted long time and many years in understanding and exploring the ancient Indian culture, history and archaeology. Shinde sir, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Today we take this opportunity and we would like to know in details the history of shipbuilding in ancient India. So to begin with, I would like to first ask you, we are very curious to know how actually this activity of boat building and these maritime activities, they began in India. What are the earliest evidences that are found?
First, I would like to make it clear that South Asia is very important right from the early stage. In the past also it was important, even today it is important. And we have seen that the South Asia, particularly India, has given lot to the world, in the sphere of science and technology. And number of basic technologies, basic sciences were developed in South Asia, in India particularly. And shipbuilding activity also was developed in India. In fact, Indians are considered to be the pioneers in shipbuilding, and we have strong evidence in this respect.
Yeah.
Now, before I discuss about the shipbuilding activity, which started maybe around 4,500 years ago or maybe slightly earlier, I would like to mention that people were traveling from one continent to another continent during the hunting-gathering stage. And in India, the hunting-gathering stage goes back to almost 2 million years, that is 20 lakh years. And it is believed that the early people, we do not have conclusive evidence for that, but probably the early people came from Africa, that is the belief. And if they have come from Africa, then definitely they have maybe traveled or crossed over number of maybe different continents, and that is how they have reached to different parts of the world. And one branch came to South Asia also, that is the belief. Right. But still no, it is not established. We need to have more evidence in this particular respect. So probably that is how it began. But there is a very important stage which is between hunting-gathering stage and agriculture stage. And the culture which represents that particular phase is called Mesolithic culture,
right,
or Microlithic culture. These are the two terms used. So these are the people who began maybe fishing activities on large scale. These are the people who were traveling from one region to another region. They were crossing rivers, big rivers, and probably they also crossed maybe some parts of sea also or the ocean. So there they must have used some maybe small boats, canoes.
Right.
So that is how the activity began, and that is how they developed contact, established contact with different regions.
Right.
And then the real development, I will say that the origin and development of shipbuilding activity actually happened during the settled life stage. And in India, the beginning goes back to almost 7000 BC.
Okay, sir.
So from 7000 BC to the beginning of the Harappan culture, we have very strong evidence about the gradual development. And the actual evidence of shipbuilding is found in the Harappan stage. And that is dated precisely to 2500 BCE. There is a site called Lothal in Gujarat.
Yeah.
And this site has produced the earliest evidence of dockyard anywhere in the world. And this dockyard was used for shipbuilding, ship repairing purpose also. Apart from as a port, this site has played that important role.
But sir, here actually, what were the purposes behind this kind of activity? Maybe as you mentioned, fishing was the main purpose.
Yes.
Small travels might have been another purpose, and also trade. So actually, what is the significance of this boat building and which is the earliest evidence that we have so far as the archaeological data is concerned?
See, the purpose behind this is very simple. The Harappans, they were very enterprising people,
Yeah.
and they were constantly developing, upgrading the technologies. And then they realized that they, in order to develop further, in fact, one of the three civilizations where the earliest urbanization happened, Harappan was one of them. And they realized that if you want to develop from maybe rural culture to urban phase, then you need a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the Harappans did not have that advantage because most of the resources were located outside the Harappan region.
Right.
And they realized that if they can establish trade on large scale, not only with the hinterland communities,
Yeah.
but also with international communities, perhaps they will be able to generate a lot of wealth. And that is what they did. This
Yeah.
trade was developed for two reasons. One, that they developed this hinterland trade with the communities around them for acquiring the suitable raw material.
Okay.
And the Harappans had technology with them.
Yeah.
And then they started manufacturing finished goods on very large scale. And these finished goods had a greater demand in West, particularly in Mesopotamia, Egypt.
Yeah.
There was a lot of demand. So they started producing them. And then to maybe reach this material
Yeah.
to these people fast, they developed two different routes. One was land route, which is properly established,
Yes.
and other was the sea route also,
Yeah.
maritime route.
Maritime route.
And Harappans were pioneer in developing maritime route in the world for trade purpose.
Yeah.
So this was the beginning. But this is the beginning of
Exactly.
the maritime activities,
Yeah.
mainly for the trade purpose. And then, of course, the Harappans were benefited by that, and they were able to develop cities and towns at some stage, maybe in the middle of the 3rd millennium BC.
Sir, thank you so much for that. Here I would like to add few references from the ancient Indian culture also. In the Rigveda also we come across some references like Samudram na sancharena sanishavaha. This is a verse.
Yes.
So the seer says that in the pursuit of wealth,
Yes.
sanishavaha,
Yes.
we travel through the maritime route, Samudram sancharena. And there are words like Abdipatha and the Katha Sarita Sagar, which is very important text in Sanskrit literature. We find several references of marine routes.
Right.
So I think the archaeological evidences need matching with the literary evidences, and that supports the evidence, I think.
Actually, this is very important.
Yeah.
Because the evidence that we have generated so far
Yes.
from Harappan sites, now that is clearly indicating that the Rigvedic and the Harappans were one and the same.
Same.
Whatever description we find in the Rigvedic text,
Right.
that matches very well with the Harappan culture, and we have a lot of evidence in that respect. And no doubt, that no wonder that if they have mentioned about the maybe different kinds of maybe
Routes,
activities
and-
including maritime activity,
Yeah.
because they were actually doing this, and that
Yes.
is reflected in fact in the text.
And sir,
So this is
Varuna,
additional information. In fact,
Additional,
this is
yeah.
very important for us also.
and Varuna is the deity,
Yes.
and it is described in the Rigveda that Varuna actually is very vigilant, and he witnesses the activities taking place on the oceans. So that reference is also there.
Yes, yes.
Sir, coming to the boat building activity, may we know anything? What were the types of boats that were built? Maybe there were small boats or huge boats were used, and what kind of material they used to build the boats in those ancient days?
Yes. Now, before I talk about the kinds of boats these people have built, I would like to mention about the evidence from the site of Lothal. Now, Lothal, which is roughly 80 to 90 kilometers away from Ahmedabad and Gandhinagar. Now, that was the Harappan port.
Okay.
It was a river end port rather. And then it is here that the archaeologists from the Archaeological Survey of India, they have excavated one structure which is identified by the excavator as the dockyard. Now there are a lot of debate on this, and the Western scholars, particularly the Americans and the Western scholars, they were not really readily accepting this particular hypothesis. But the evidence that is there is very important. Now there is a big structure which is roughly 240 meters long and then 36 meter wide and 4 to 5 meters deep. Now that structure was definitely used for storing water.
Okay.
Because the bricks were put together in bitumen mortar, which is like a tar, waterproof substance. Only here they have used this particular binding material here. Secondly, when they excavated, they found a lot of formation of this shale, marine shells inside the structure.
Okay.
Those shells have been studied in detail by the scientist. So they say that these are the marine shells. Thirdly, they also found some anchor stones inside.
Okay.
Because to hold the boats, you need these anchor
that.
stones. So that evidence was found. And lastly, the most important is that there's a wharf attached to this particular structure.
What was the purpose of wharf?
And wharf is very important because this is a sloping platform
Right.
for sliding goods up and down.
Okay.
Goods required for maybe boat building, etc. So that material can be slide up and down easily with the help of this wharf. So that is the kind of evidence. And the excavator S.R. Rao, who from the Archaeological Survey of India. Now, since there was a lot of criticism, he invited the people from Indian Navy, and without letting them know what he thinks about this particular structure, he just told them that tell me what could be the function of this. And after seeing this evidence, the Navy people said that the only function of the structure will be dockyard.
Okay.
So that
it
is
was
now
confirmed.
clear now.
Yeah.
So we have that particular evidence.
Great.
Now we don't have the physical remains of the boat, but we do have some maybe replicas on the Harappan seals, and we find two kinds of boats. One is the wooden boat made of wooden plank, and it is a flat bottom and quite big. And we also have the evidence of a house inside the boat and birds also. That means these type of boats were used for long distance travel. So that is one kind of boat we find. And exactly when I went to Mohenjo-daro, I saw that exactly same kind of boats are being used in the in the Indus River even today in that region. So that is one kind of boat we find. The other boat is that what we call as the reed boat made from very thick and long grass.
Okay.
So this we do not know whether this technique was developed by the Harappans or they borrowed this from the Mesopotamians.
Exactly.
Because in Mesopotamia this tradition still continues, in Iraq particularly. So probably maybe because of the contact, the Harappans could have got some idea about developing reed boats also. And we have picture of that on Harappan seal. And in that boat also we see a house inside. So that means these reed boats also are used for long travel distance also.
Achha.
So these are the two kinds of boats we find in the Harappan region.
Okay, sir. In Sanskrit literature especially, we find different names for boats like Yana Patra. Maybe a small bowl kind boat was used. Then Pravahana, maybe the larger boat was there, and Sutarma, Nauhu. So different names are there which indicate probably different types of boats. So we need to get confirmation from the archaeological evidences, and that will form a different
so
topic
we
of
have
study,
the
I
evidence of
think.
the big boats certainly.
Right.
But they also may use small boats also, because for crossing big rivers they must have also use this. I'm sure that the Harappans were so advanced that they could have developed these type of facilities also for riverine trade also, and they trade with maybe connecting seas, etc. So that must have happened also. So this reference is very important, and it is very important that we synthesize the archaeological and literary sources so that we can generate maybe true picture of that particular period.
Exactly.
And that is what is required in fact.
That is required. Sir, thanks for elaborating on the significance of Lothal. But apart from Lothal, do we have any other archaeological sites where we have these maritime evidences?
Say, it starts with the Harappan period.
Right.
And there are a number of sites on the coastal region in Saurashtra and also on the Makran coast. And archaeologists have identified 32 Harappan ports which were developed for trade purpose basically. But Lothal is the only site where we have the evidence of dockyard. We don't have that kind of evidence at other sites. But they have developed a lot of ports for carrying out trade. That is quite important. And then this activity continues, of course. After the decline of the Harappans, even the Chalcolithic people have used maybe small boats for maybe riverine trade, etc. The Chalcolithic people after that, they never developed international trade, of course.
Exactly.
And then of course the international trade was developed maybe during the 3rd century BCE. And then we started developing trade with Roman Empire. And that time also we find the continuity of the shipbuilding activities. Then maybe more ships were introduced that time. But that activities are continued from Harappans to Roman times. And
Yeah.
from Romans to maybe 6th, 7th century also, we started developing contact with Southeast Asia,
Southeast
with
Asia.
China, etc. So the activities were expanding, and they were continuing from time to time.
Yeah.
Even till maybe till Marathas,
It
we find the
continued, yeah.
continuity in that. And then of course the
Exactly.
Europeans started coming here, so they also brought their their different kinds of ships here. We started maybe imitating
Yeah.
their ships also. They
there is-
adopted our technology also, our shipbuilding activities also. This activity has not stopped with the Portuguese. It has
continued.
continued till today. There are communities in Gujarat, in Mandvi region particularly, in Goa also, in Kerala, in Andhra Pradesh also there are some communities, Orissa, Bengal. They are still carrying forward the tradition that was developed by the Harappans. So
Okay.
the shipbuilding activity has continued till today.
Yeah. So there is continuity of
This is tremendous
maritime
continuity.
activity.
And as far
Exactly.
as the Lothal is concerned, let me tell you that even today there is a dhow trade between Oman and Gujarat, and it is now running through between Mandvi and a place called
Yeah.
Sur in Oman. But probably from Lothal also this activity has
Yeah.
continued.
Very nice to hear.
So this is very
from you.
important that
Yeah,
we
it's
have
a new information.
continued the tradition. That is very important. Yes.
Yes. Related to this, sir, I would like to ask, can we arrive at some opinion where these ancient mariners might have reached? You just have mentioned that Roman Empire. Apart from there, where these mariners might have gone, and what were the probable areas they have explored?
See, as far as the Harappans are concerned, we have strong evidence to indicate that they traveled to Oman, to Bahrain, also to Mesopotamia, in Iraq
Great.
particularly, and Egypt also. So these are the countries which were connected by maritime trade.
Okay.
But they also had a lot of maybe land routes also connecting. Apart from these regions, Central Asia was also connected. So during the Harappan times, these are the regions which were connected. And then in case of hinterland area, I think they must have connected up to Kerala.
So great outreach was there.
Outreach was quite
Was
wide.
Wide.
And then of course during the Roman time, the entire Roman Empire was connected to India, and the Romans had realized the importance of India that time, because they knew that there was a lot of wealth in India which they can exploit. So that is how Romans and then through India the Romans also went further to Southeast Asia, China, etc.
Acha, towards that end also.
Yes, so that is they have taken the advantage of that.
So in various directions, these ancient mariners
Yes,
have moved.
and then of course we had very strong contact with Southeast Asia, with China.
Right.
Even it goes up to Japan.
Japan.
In Japan, we are getting the beads. They are called the
Okay.
Indo-Pacific beads. We those beads were manufactured in India, but we do find evidence of that in Japan also, in Korea also. That means even though we do not have direct evidence about the maritime activities with Korea and Japan, this evidence indicates that that Indian goods have reached the shores of Japan and Korea also. So it was very wide. In fact, it was not confined to one particular region or only few countries. It was a very wide contact.
So in connection with the Lothal or the dockyard, I would like to draw attention to the word Tirtha in Sanskrit.
Right.
This word is very commonly used, Tirtha Kshetra. So Tirthas were mainly built at the banks of rivers or great reservoir of waters.
Right.
And strictly speaking, the word meaning of Tirtha is what helps you cross the water. So probably Tirtha and this dockyard, we can match the evidences, I think.
Right. No, in fact, in Gujarat, the Somnath,
Yes.
which is famous for even religious tourism.
Yeah.
Now that was also ancient port,
Right.
and because of the port activities, because of the maritime activities there, I think this place gained the importance, religious importance also. So that was
Right.
established there. Similarly, Dwarka also.
Yeah.
Dwarka was also port.
And it is Tirtha.
Now
so
today
port,
it's so important.
so ancient Tirthas were the
Yes,
ports.
yes. Even in Bengal also, there are sites like Chandraketugad, Tamluk,
Yeah.
where which are also important religious places.
Great to know, sir. Thanks.
So this is really important. This is not isolated. In fact, these are all connected to each
Right.
other.
Actually, Professor Shinde, we have deliberated so much on the trade and travels also.
Yes, yes.
But was there any other purpose like warfare for this maritime activity behind that?
Warfare, we do not get much evidence, definitely not during the Harappan times.
Sure.
It is not depicted also anywhere in the Harappan, sites. But probably, maybe, there is a mention about this during the Roman time, Indo-Roman time.
Right.
So probably, to maybe establish hegemony over certain area.
Okay.
Probably, this type of, small skirmishes must have happened. And there is a, mention about that. We do not have direct evidence, archaeological evidence in this respect. But there's a mention, and it is quite likely because Romans came here for trade purpose.
Main purpose was that.
Yeah, so they wanted to capture the very potential, very strategic locations. So there, they must have tried, these type of activities. And then, of course, that the later period also, particularly during the Maratha period, they realized the importance of this, naval activity also.
Naval activity.
So Shivaji was able to,
Yes.
develop this. Perhaps that was the first naval fleet developed in Indian subcontinent, and then they control the maritime resources also,
Right.
and also they safeguarded very important locations, important from trade point of view, from religious point of view. These were protected by Shivaji, and that activity continues.
Thank you, sir. Actually, we got lot of information as far as the maritime activity in ancient days is concerned, because India is gifted with great maritime resources.
Yes.
And so now, what are the challenges? I mean, I would like to know how to showcase this maritime heritage before the young generation today. So, are there any attempts made in this direction? And what are the challenges? How could we make aware the common community regarding the great heritage
Yes.
of this country?
In fact, India is the country which has got the widest, or the longest seashore. More than 7,500 kilometer long
Right.
seashore we have. There are 9 states around, or around the, this Indian Ocean rim. There are 4 union territories,
Right.
and these, states and the union territories, they have really very rich and varied, heritage.
Right.
And this heritage was never showcased at one place, because we know that nobody can travel to all these different places in anybody's lifetime.
Exactly.
So then the idea should have been coming from the professionals like us, that we should have a center where we can showcase all the activities. But fortunately now recently, the Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, now he has realized the importance of the maritime heritage, and because of his direction, now the Government of India, the Ministry of Shipping, is developing perhaps the world's largest maritime heritage complex near Lothal.
Oh.
And Lothal site is considered to be the backdrop for this project. And here we are developing the biggest maritime museum, not only in India, but perhaps one of the 3 biggest museums in the world. And here we are going to showcase all the maritime heritage right from Stone Age period, the trade activities from the Harappan times till modern times.
Modern times.
Then this continuity of the maritime activities till today, the continuity of shipbuilding activities till today. There are a lot of communities who have different maybe heritage
skills,
which are along the coast, but the heritage of these communities is not known to the common people. So that also the heritage of the people living along the coast, that also will be showcased here.
Yes.
And also the development of the first naval fleet in the country by the Marathas, particularly under the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. So that will be also showcased, and how the Indian Navy has developed further,
Yeah.
and how it has become a blue water navy today in the world. So that part also we are going to showcase here, and also the activities of the Ministry of Ports, Waterways and Shipping.
Separate ministry.
Yeah, that is a separate ministry. So that activity is also going to be showcased at one place. And apart from that, there will be research institute where the scholars from different countries, particularly the scholars look from the Indian Ocean rim countries.
Okay.
There are almost 40 countries. They can come here and they can carry out research in this respect. So at one place, the entire maritime heritage will be showcased at Lothal. So
Okay.
this is the initiative taken by the Honorable Prime Minister, and this project is in very advanced stage. And by 2023 December, it will be inaugurated also. So
In recent
the
future we will have that. Yeah.
country will have really a new project in hand.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Can you name some institutes or some personalities or scholars who are working in this area? Like there is one institute in Goa also.
Yes. See, I think most of the maritime states, they have a department of archaeology,
Right.
and they also have developed this maritime archaeology section, maritime heritage section in their respective states. But they are showcasing heritage of their own state only.
Right.
But here at Lothal, the entire heritage of the country will be showcased at one
Yeah.
place. Apart from these state departments which have got the facility for maritime activities or maritime research, there are institutions like National Institute of Oceanography, for example. They're doing a lot of research on ancient climate. They're working on the functions of the waves, currents and winds, etc. So this input is very important. So this type of research is also happening. And there also we are roping in the Indian Navy people, how this project can be made more maybe elaborate and more relevant to the country.
Yeah.
So we are not only showcasing the heritage of the country at one place, but we also are thinking about how we can safeguard our maritime resources.
Exactly. That is the challenge.
There that is going to be a main challenge. And here different stakeholders have to come together.
Yeah.
And Indian Navy, Minister of Shipping, Minister of External Affairs, they are all working together in this particular respect.
Thank you, sir, so much. Actually, today's discussion is very beneficial for us, and we are highly benefited from discussing with you on several points. Actually, what is the cultural significance? What was the economic significance of this maritime activity right from the ancient age? So, thanks for elaborating in details on this topic.
But one thing, maybe I would like to elaborate that because of the maritime activities, the Indian cultural elements, the religious elements, they also have traveled along with the trade outside India. For example, Rama and Mahabharata,
Right.
they have traveled to Southeast Asia.
Yes.
This has happened because of the development of maritime trade.
Yeah.
So it is not only the trade, which was the focus of activities, but along with trade, maybe the languages also have traveled, the Indian
Culture.
cultures also have traveled, religions also have traveled. That is how the
Yeah.
Hinduism, Buddhism have traveled
Spread,
to different
yeah,
spread to different
different,
parts. So maritime activity is very important for this purpose.
It was
also.
the main vehicle to spread the
Yes,
culture
yes.
all over
Yeah,
the
right.
South Asia and other parts of
Exactly.
world also. So once again, on behalf of the listeners and All India Radio, I take this opportunity to thank you, Professor.
It's a pleasure, yes.
So kindly
Thank you
accept
very
our big thanks.
Thank you very much.
The Ancient Indian Shipbuilding Knowledge System. You heard the 9th episode of our all-new series on traditional Indian knowledge systems, Power of Listening. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next Friday, same time, with another episode, taking you on a fascinating journey through our glorious traditional Indian knowledge systems. The expert on the show was Professor Vasanta Shinde, international archaeologist. Talking to him was Dr. Prasad Prakash Joshi, Indologist and Sanskrit scholar. Special thanks to All India Radio Pune, Randhir Thakur and Amol Parth for their contribution. This series has been conceptualized by Shashi Shekhar Vempati, CEO Prasar Bharati, and produced by Nilima Patwardhan and Vinod Kumar. The episode is also available on our official YouTube channel, Akashvani AIR. Be there on the 26th of November, same time, same frequencies. Bye for now.